Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, a very cool D23 experience happening in Disneyland. Disney Junior Let's Play is coming in August. A new mixology seminar is shaking things up over at Trader Sam's.
Pixar's Elio has landed at the resort. More Disneyland from the comfort of your own home. We talk with Disney television animation legend Jymn Magon and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome aboard the DL Weekly podcast. Please, lower your head and watch your step while boarding. If this is your first time listening, we hope you'll check out our website at dlweekly.net. If you have more time to spend, becoming an official weekly tier at dlweekly.net/support is an especially good value. Thanks for traveling with us today, and we hope you have a happy and memorable listen to this week's episode.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of June 25th, 2025. I'm Teresa Urban.
And I'm Teg Bushman. We would like to thank everyone who supports the show, but this week we would like to give a special shout out to Alex W., Peggy F., and Marie W. for continuing to support the show, and Martha K. for increasing your support. If you would like to help support the show and get ad-free versions of each episode, access to our supporter-only chat, and a bunch of other perks like we just had our second meeting of our book club where we're talking about Bob Weiss's book, and much, much more, head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official weekly tier.
Now let's get to the news.
Extra, extra, read all about it. DL Weekly reports from intrepid correspondents Tag and Teresa. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Breaking news!
D23 Gold members have a really neat opportunity to experience and learn more about the Walt Disney A Magical Life attraction coming to Disneyland on July 17th. Gold members can purchase tickets for a special D23 showing of the attraction on the morning of July 18th, a panel about the creation of the show, reserve viewing for Paint the Night or Worlds of Color Happiness, and a D23 exclusive member gift. Tickets went on sale before this podcast was posted and may still be available at the link in our show notes.
So pause the show now if you're interested in this and go see if there are still tickets available, because I have a feeling this one's going to go fast. By the way, if you pick the Paint the Night version, you also get Wondrous Journeys with that. So you get a couple different things.
2 for 1. We're very sad because while we will be in Anaheim on the 18th, we are flying out of Anaheim on the 18th. So we just barely
in the morning.
missed the morning of. So we're just barely missing this experience, but it's not very often that they have these types of things available in the parks during park hours. The last D23 event I can remember that was in the park was when back when we were promoting Jungle Cruise. They had like a special before the park opened thing that members were able to go and experience. But so this is pretty cool. And I mean, yes, anybody can go see this show because it is a new attraction that will be offered starting on the 17th. But to be able to also sit and see a panel from folks that brought this to life and kind of like more of the story behind the creation, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. This just sounds really amazing to have like a panel and being able to see it. Mm-hmm. We're expecting when we're there on the 17th to have to wait quite a while to see it. I'm guessing even on the 18th, there's probably going to be a queue to see it. So this kind of gets you to skip that. I don't think we've mentioned it yet. Gold member price for this is $75 plus a $3 fee per ticket. Tickets go on sale the 25th at 10 a.m. So the day this podcast goes live, like at 10 a.m. Disneyland time. The other thing that they note I'm just getting super technical here. I'm sorry, guys. Is that if you do get this, you need to have obviously valid admission and a park reservation for Disneyland. If you choose the World of Color Happiness option, then you also need to have a park hopper because otherwise you have no way to get over there. So just keep all of that in mind when you're selecting your stuff, that you need to make sure you have the proper ticket thing. So I think this is such a cool, like, I thought it was cool to begin with. And then the fact that you get reserved viewing for World of Color Happiness or
that's like the
Paint the
cherry
Night or
on top.
Wonder. Yeah, I was like, pfft. And I was looking at the timing, and I was like, Teresa, what time do we fly out? She goes, about 10 a.m. I said, dang it, that's when this starts.
So close. So close.
What a cool event, though. Like, we've gotten really lucky with D23 member events, and this would have been like almost perfect timing again for that. If this would have been on the 16th, like you were saying,
then
this
we
would
may
have
have
been
been
great.
able to make it work. But so I hope everyone that's able to attend this has a really fun time doing it. I think it sounds like a really great experience.
And let us know, send us email, message us on social media if you did see this, like how cool it was, and also what you thought of the Walt animatronic, because that's what everybody's going to be wondering. Well, some fun activities are coming to Disney California Adventure and the Downtown Disney Live Stage. Disney Junior Let's Play Block Party will feature Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and other characters along the parade route in Disney California Adventure. The Disney Junior Let's Play Live Stage Show is going to be at the Hollywood Backlot Stage. You get to learn to draw Disney Junior characters at the Animation Academy. Moving over to Downtown Disney on August 9th and 10th, the Let's Play Bubbles experience returns to the Downtown Disney Live Stage, along with photo ops and Let's Play merchandise. By the way, this is on all of this is the 8th through the 10th, I think, is the time frame for this.
So let's see. The Disney Junior Let's Play celebration returns to the Disneyland Resort August 8th through August 10th.
So a real short weekend.
3-day event. But if you are fans of any of the Disney Junior shows and some of the characters and fun that happens, this is a perfect weekend to go attend and have all these extra magical experiences that you don't get to do and see every day. I think this is really fun because, like, this bubble experience that's going to be in Downtown Disney, it looks like there's even some character appearances that might be happening in Downtown Disney too, which that's very rare to see characters in Downtown Disney like that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
What a great use of this stage and play area too, that I don't know, it's just great. And I remember us talking about the bubble experience last year, and it seemed like people really enjoyed it. Like, it was pretty simple, but kids love bubbles. And
what's not to love about
and if there's characters,
bubbles?
even better.
There you go. The latest Pixar movie, Elio, is coming to the Disneyland Resort. The Pixar Place Hotel will update the Pixar Gallery on the second floor to feature the film. In the lobby, there's going to be a photo location. Of course, there will also be Elio merchandise located throughout the resort.
Yeah. And also, we didn't talk about it because we're a Disneyland podcast, but there's also a bunch of stuff happening at Disney World as well. There's like actually a really cool, like, Elio float that's going to be over there that looks crazy.
And they've got, like, food theme to it. So ours is a little more scaled back. But the cool thing about ours is we have stuff on display at the Pixar Place Hotel that is, like, from Pixar. It's like the maquettes and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool.
I've heard from a couple people that have seen this that they thought it was really good.
Yes.
But Disney is not really promoting it. And the biggest complaint I saw online was the trailers that they had didn't really tell you what the movie was about. So people are confused.
I like that. I always feel like if I see a trailer and it doesn't really tell me what's going on, that actually makes me more intrigued than trailers that kind of show what the story's going to be, because I feel like the trailers that show show the story, when I then go see the movie, I feel like I've already seen, like, yeah, exactly. I feel like the trailer gave it all away. So maybe I'm an odd one out on that. But yeah, I've heard really great things about this. In fact, I'm trying to figure out when we can sneak in to go see it at our theater, which we don't go to the movie theater as much anymore. But this seems like one that I definitely want to go to the theater and support and see.
It is a Pixar movie. And just want to put it out there. If people want Pixar to make non-sequel movies, they need to be successful. So if people stop going to see these,
Yeah. Well, the thing that's tough too is I feel like I kind of forgot that Elio was coming out until we were just in Southern California last month. And there was like posters and stuff all around that we saw there, billboards and whatnot. But I feel like here in the Midwest, there's really nothing. So I'm assuming there's other parts of the country that didn't really have this film heavily advertised. So I'm wondering how many people even know that this film is out right now.
Right.
Plus, it's kind of tough because it's competing with the live action Lilo and Stitch, which has only been out a couple weeks.
Which has been very popular.
Another studio just put out How to Train Your Dragon,
which has also
live
been
action,
pretty popular.
Which, so I feel like it's a tough, it's kind of a tough time for it to have also released. So I extra want to make sure that I go and support it in the theater.
Well, something you don't have to do from the theater, you can do from the comfort of your own home, is more Disneyland Resort Attractions videos are coming to Disney+. On July 17th, a ton of lands, shows, and attractions are going to be added. Included this time are, here we go, I'm not going to quickly go through it in one breath, but we'll see how we do. We have Pirates of the Caribbean, Indiana Jones, Radiator Springs Racers, the Incredicoaster, the Haunted Mansion. I'm sure Teresa's happy about that one. Tiana's Bayou. Hopefully this will be one with the new bride too. Tiana's Bayou Adventure. A walkthrough of Cars Land, which I think would be really cool. I hope they do this one at night because it seems like that would be the best time. The Pixar Pal-A-Round, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, the Jungle Cruise, Soarin' Around the World. I'm interested to see how they do that one. Avengers Campus walkthrough. Again, I think this will be cool if they do a nighttime. Hollywoodland. I'm a little confused by that one. Main Street USA, Mickey's ToonTown, and the 70th Celebration Nighttime Spectaculars. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so that means we've got Wondrous Journeys. That means we've got World of Color Happiness. Do you think that also includes Paint the Night?
Yes. Do you know what I think that I'm most excited for with this Nighttime Spectaculars?
The Muppets.
I am hoping that they have that because I can't hear. There's parts of that I can't understand in the videos, and even when we were there, that I'm like, if they put it there, it'll probably have captions.
There you go.
And it'll probably be like source audio that you're not trying to compete with like the jets and people and everything. Sure. Mm-hmm. So is there something in this that you're particularly excited for other than the Haunted Mansion?
I think that this is like fun all around, especially because, yes, of course, we have ride-through videos that people have done themselves and posted on YouTube, but this is like professional.
Yeah.
Disney's in control of it, so there's not other people riding, there's not other noises. I'm sure they did things to like help with lighting, and if the sound wasn't great, like you said, they have all of the audio, so they could so I feel like this would be the best, hopefully will be the best versions of ride-through attractions that one could possibly ever get, because it's Disney doing it themselves versus somebody trying to do it with a bunch of other people, and maybe everything wasn't working that day, or whatever. So
I also wonder if Disney's doing this. I can think of two reasons Disney might do this. One, to like, if other people are doing it, why shouldn't they also do a better version of it? And two, I wonder if they're trying to cut down on people recording in attractions, because like if there's already a really good one, why would you do that?
That's very true. I'm so curious. I think that what I'm most curious about on this list, though, is the Jungle Cruise. Do you think they're going to have will it be with a skipper? Or do you think it'll just be...
I didn't even consider that.
Yeah, I'm curious if there's a skipper.
It's got to have a skipper.
Do you think it's Josh Gad?
What if it's Josh Gad? That would be amazing.
It could be.
That would be amazing. Although there's a few skippers that we've had that I think would be really amazing to see. The only other concern that I have is anytime I've seen a Disney filmed nighttime spectacular, I just want a nice wide shot that has everything. I've just seen these, like, they had one from a few years ago for the fireworks that were in Paris, and they have really great projections on, like, the castle gate, basically, the part that's covered up. Yeah. So they kept, like, cutting to a shot of really tight on that, and I'm like, you're missing other stuff that's happening. So either that, or it would actually even be cooler if like people could choose like two versions. Standing. Like, do you want to have them? Well, that could be really complicated, but like have a version that's like, here's a wide shot of the whole show. Here's we're gonna point you where we kind of want you to focus on things. That would be neat.
Well, the one thing though is with Wondrous Journeys, I don't feel like, when we were there, they didn't have projections on the castle, did they?
I think something was going on with that, because they did last time Wondrous Journeys was there.
Yeah, that's what I thought so too. So
maybe it has something to do with the fountains that are missing.
Maybe. Well, mixology class fans should really like this next bit of news. On July 21st, Trader Sam's is hosting a 45-minute mixology class led by a Trader Sam's bartender where you'll learn to make one alcoholic and one non-alcoholic drink. After the class, there's a fireside reception with one cocktail. There's also a non-alcoholic option available, snacks, and live entertainment. Guests also will receive a special mug that hasn't been released to the public yet. Registration opens on June 26th with tickets priced at $179 per adult.
People love these classes.
Well, we've looked at these, we've reported on these before, and it's one of those when you first look at it, you're like, ooh, $179. That seems, seems steep. But then when you kind of piece it out and see all the different things, you're like, well, if you're someone that collects the mugs, that could be a good chunk of that $179 fee. Plus you get a couple of drinks and you get food, and the food looks like it's from Tongaroa Terrace, which we know is delicious. So it's well, okay, once you add all that stuff in, it's not as sticker shock esque, if that is your thing. So the thing that's really interesting is the mug, right? So every other class that they've done, guests have received a mug, and it's been one that hasn't been released to the public just yet. So you get a first run at one of the special limited edition mugs. One year it was Ursula's Cauldron. Yeah, remember that? That was a cool one.
Well, didn't they just have? Oh no, that was probably a Club 30. What was the Indiana Jones one? Was that a Club 33 Tiki one?
I think it was. Yeah.
Anyway, always cool. I mean, I haven't really seen any of the tiki mugs from Trader Sam's be oh, I wouldn't want that.
Yeah, they do a great job.
Yeah. Plus the cast members there are just fantastic. Well, guests staying at the Pixar Place Hotel have their exclusive entrance to Disney California Adventure back. The entrance is located between the Corndog Castle and Seaside Souvenirs. That's kind of where the guests get entered into the park. The new entrance was unavailable because they were installing the new entrance gates like they did at the Grand Californian and the main entrance gates.
So that means all gates are now open for sure into DCA. I believe there might be, I'll have to check with David's newest video for Fresh Baked. I think there was maybe one section that they were still updating as far as the park entrance gates, but everything else has been updated. The monorail gates have been updated. Both hotel entrances have been updated. Majority of the main park front entrance gates have been updated. So this project is almost wrapped.
Yeah. And it's a great system. We had pretty good luck with it.
Like anything, there's going to be ebbs and flows. There's still kind of, some congestion and maybe kind of some bottlenecking, because it's one of those things that it's a kind of a luck of the draw as far as who all is trying to enter the park. Is it a bunch of folks with tickets, so they have to do the extra step of doing their photo for the first time? Is it people that, maybe it's not their first day or they're a Magic Key holder, so that's, a little quicker because you don't have that extra step with the photos? You never know. Or you could be like me, where the first couple of times we were going in with our Magic Bands, I don't know if there was a reset period between. I was always going in second. Tag would go in first, I'd go in second. So sometimes it was almost like there was a reset period between when Tag's Magic Band and everything processed before it would allow me to touch my band and be able to go through.
And in case anybody's thinking right again, I was on the other side at this point, and I was watching the screen. The cast member had already okayed me through, so it wasn't. That wasn't the reason that it was delayed.
No, but it was just I wonder if this a system refresh type thing.
I just figured somebody might write in and be well, maybe the cast member hadn't done the thing yet. So
yeah. Nope, not that. But anyways, very exciting.
Yeah,
we're fans of the new entrance gates.
I really like them. Yeah.
Well, the resort celebrated a very special family of cast members recently by creating a very special photo. The McShay family currently has 7 family members working at the resort. The photo was set up by Disney as a surprise for the current cast member, Morgan McShay's mother, Pam. Pam met Morgan's dad, Scott, who was an electrician at Disneyland when she worked in Tomorrowland Attractions. Scott's 2 brothers, Jeff and Glenn, also work at the resort. Morgan was hired at the resort in 2017 at the Haunted Mansion, and her twin siblings, Hannah and Bryce, were hired in a few years later. Their cousin, Cameron, also works in ToonTown. Morgan knew that her mom would like a photo of the entire family all together in one photo at Disneyland. So they made that happen, and they did it all in their like cast costumes or cast uniforms. The framed photo was presented to Pam in Tomorrowland, actually in the spot where she and her husband had first met.
Yeah. What a
Very
cool like
special.
story. But I feel like it's not impossible, especially I want to say maybe like in the earlier days of Disneyland, that this wasn't like more common. Like I feel like it was for a long time, Disneyland was a really great place to work, because back in the day, they paid higher than a lot of other places. They really wanted to keep people around and all that stuff. Not that they don't want to keep people around now. It's just different now. But like this is a large family of people that work. And that's just so cool. And I love that Disney like helped kind of make this happen and get it all framed and everything. There's even a photo at the link in the show notes of Morgan's grandfather, grandmother, Morgan as a baby, her mom and dad on Morgan's first visit, also in front of the train station. So like, wow. I don't know. What a cool legacy, I guess.
Very, very cool.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
I up, down, touch the ground. I think of things to chew, like honey and milk and chocolate. With a hefty, happy appetite, I'm a hefty, happy poo. A rumbly in my tumbly means it's time for snacks.
Well, this week for Snack Chat, we are continuing on about the treats we had when we were at Disneyland, and today we're talking about
some of the beverages we consume. So we're going to do
I'm going to stand to the side.
Brews,
no, I'm just kidding.
Some of the cold brews and some of the drinks, because if we only did cold brews, poor Tag would have like 1, maybe 2 to talk about. So we're splitting them up.
Did I even try any cold?
Yes, you
I tried
did. You
one.
had a cold brew in
Did I?
Yeah, you had a cold brew in DCA. Shall we talk about that one first, Tag?
Sure.
So
remind me what it was. You're going to tell me what it was, and I'm
going
like,
to tell you what it was. You tried the Red Gamma Gulp, which was over at Pim Test Kitchen. It was a red velvet cold brew with cream cheese cold foam. I rated that one a 4 out of 5. I was actually not expecting to like that one. It sounded very much like a sugar bomb to me, and so that's why we got it for you, because there was too many cold brews and not enough time for me to consume all of the cold brews I wanted to in DCA. So,
and Teresa's usually really good at like her and James are very good at taking care of me in this regard. James knows like when it comes to like certain like wines and stuff, like this will be one you'll like.
Yeah.
Teresa's very good usually at this will be a cold brew you'll like, because like there was the cookies and cream cold brew that I did really enjoy. This one I was like, okay, I love red velvet, so I thought like why not? I thought it wasn't bad. It was still too bittery coffee flavor, because I don't really like coffee.
I thought it was great. I thought it was a good blend of it was more on the sweet side, but I thought it was a good blend of sweet and creamy and coffee flavors combined.
Are you sure that you liked it, or was it just because your other one you liked so little?
Could be, because while Tag enjoyed the Red Gamma Gulp,
at the same time,
I tried the Mystic Taro Mocha, which is taro iced coffee with taro foam, tapioca spheres, and Snickers with roasted peanuts, which sounds delicious, does it not? It was a total miss for me. This was the lowest rated cold brew of the entire trip. Wow. I rated it a 1 out of 5. I don't even think I was able to finish it. It was so sweet that it was giving me a stomach ache.
You were also
telling... I like sweet coffees.
You were telling everyone that we encountered at the park that it was too sweet.
But okay, so everyone has enjoyed a Snickers bar at some point in their lives, I'm going to assume,
unless they're allergic,
allergic to peanuts or to dairy. But either way, so think of a Snickers bar. So right, there were Snickers bar pieces on top of this. The drink was so sweet that it made the Snickers bar pieces not taste sweet. Does that make sense?
That's crazy.
Like,
though.
and that's right. That's caramel. That's chocolate. That's nougat.
That's crazy.
It's sweet. Like, it's a candy bar. It's sweet. But yeah, that is how it was. So sweet. I just remember I kept looking at tag. I'm like, I don't know how much of this I can drink, and I don't want to waste. Like, I didn't want to waste food, waste money, that sort of thing. So I did as best as I could, and end up having to throw probably like a third of it away.
You tried. You kept going back to it. You were like mixing it up.
Yep.
You were trying to drink from different layers.
Yep.
You had me taste it, and I was like, it was still too coffee-y for me. Like the bitterness was still there. It was sweet, but there was still that bitterness.
It was a lot. It was a lot. But another one that was delicious was over at the Cappuccino Cart, the Banoffee Pie Cold Brew. I really enjoyed this. This was also a sweeter coffee. On the scale of the ones that we tried, this was the least sweet of the three that we tried by far. It was very enjoyable. It had a good like the cold foam on top had the banana flavor, the banana toffee flavor, and when you mixed it in with the rest of the coffee, it kind of gave a little bit of a, like, I don't know, kind of almost like a banana bread-esque flavor. So I think they did a good job. It didn't taste like candy banana, like a Runts candy kind of a
It was
flavor.
more of a natural banana.
It was a little, it was somewhere in between a natural flavor and that like Runts flavor. I thought it was really good.
We had more cold brews though, didn't we?
We did have more cold brews, but I thought you'd want to talk maybe about some drinks.
Sure.
This was a drink that I
don't think I had.
You didn't try this?
Was this?
Maybe I like hoarded it all for myself.
This is when we were dealing with the pepperoni pizza thing that was just kind of
at the Paradise Garden Grill, I ordered a pineapple agua fresca, with my meal.
It sounds amazing because you love agua frescas,
and I love pineapple, as noted with my love of Dole Whips. 5 out of 5. This needs to be at the parks all the time. It was so good, so refreshing, because this was the hottest day we were there, of course, was the day we were in DCA. But yeah, so very, very delicious, very refreshing, good natural pineapple flavor again. It didn't taste like candy pineapple flavor. So good. If you're a pineapple person, you can't miss this.
I feel like pineapple is not usually, like, banana I feel like is frequently funky tasting when they try to do it artificially, where I feel like pineapple is less so.
They do a good job.
Yeah.
They do a good job. So here are the different things. Oh, there's yours, Tag. I'll let you talk about this next one.
So this one I got a couple times, as you do. At Bango Barbecue, they had the Thai tea slushie. Now, I love the Thai tea drink that's over in San Francisco, and this is basically the exact same thing, except for it's like in a slushy form, which, because like Teresa said, it was warm when we were there, was really refreshing. Now I will say, I the first time I got it, I think of the two was the better one. The second one was, I think it wasn't as slushy, and I think that's because it was hotter, but it was really good. It was really good. I think I rated that. I mean, I got it twice, so probably like a 5 out of 5. If you like the Thai tea from over in San Francisco, you'll really like this too if you want it in like a frozen kind of thing.
All right, I've got a couple more cold brews that I'm going to go through, and then next week we're going to finish up with our drinks and our cold brews. Over at the Hungry Bear, I did try the honey cold brew, which is honey sweetened cold brew with a cream topper, honey drizzle, and like the little honeycomb cereal pieces, which we were joking because there were a couple of different coffees that had like the cereal pieces on it. We're like, what? This is like a new thing. It started,
Pride
of
Night
course.
had that too, yeah.
Yeah, it started, of course, with
Cocoa Puffs.
the Cocoa Puffs on the Black Calf. But yeah, so now we've got different places that have different cereals.
I
on
was
top.
laughing at Teresa too because she will sit there and individually eat
Yeah,
every
I have to,
piece
like,
of
pick
cereal.
them off 'cause I don't
and I'm
want
like,
to
are
get
you going to
soggy.
drink it? And she's like, I got to eat this first.
You have to, because otherwise they get soggy, and
Sure.
nah, I'm not about that. And the other thing that I wasn't really about was this cold brew. I rated it a 2.5 out of 5. It had potential, and I don't know what the miss was. So it tasted, this is the taste, maybe this isn't how it was made, but the honey sweetened cold brew, it didn't taste like, it tasted like that artificial fakey kind of flavor. Do you know what I mean? Like, it got better after I definitely mixed everything up and in it, but
This is
first
the one that
couple
you
of
said it
sips
felt-
were very...
It tasted like really artificial, like chemically.
This one and another one.
Yeah.
So for some reason, this one, they just tasted, they had that really heavy, artificial, almost chemical kind of taste. So I finished it. It wasn't as bad as the other one, but it was definitely not one I would either recommend or get again. And I had high hopes for this one. I thought this one was for sure going to be a win.
I feel like it should be pretty hard to screw up a honey cold brew.
So I don't know. I don't know if they actually put honey in it. If it was the flavor of the honey mixing with the coffee flavor of the cold brew that was not working or what. But
In theory, it sounds good.
Yeah, in theory, it sounded great. But another one I tried that was good, we're going to end on a high note, was over at the Troubadour Tavern, the tiramisu cold brew. This was one I was very, very excited about. I rated it a 4 out of 5.
This had the ladyfinger in
This
it, right?
had the ladyfinger in it on top. This is actually the first cold brew of my trip. Delicious. It was very creamy. I mean, tiramisu is a dessert with coffee flavors, so it makes total sense in for a cold brew to be.
Why did it take them this long to come up with this? You're right, because it makes total sense.
Delicious. It was flavorful, but not overly flavored, and it was nice and creamy. So if people are fans of like the black calf, this was kind of sweetness level to the black calf, I would say. If you take off don't think about the ladyfinger cookie thing that's on top, because obviously that's going to be sweeter, but like the coffee itself was more of a like creamy sweet and not like an overly sugary sweet, if that makes sense. But yeah, we've got 3 more cold brews that I tried that we will talk about next week, along with 1, 2, 3 more drinks that we tried as well. So tune in next week for our
This should just
to be continued
drink chat.
drink.
At this
Yeah,
point.
yeah, it's drink chat, liquid snack chat. Well, it's that time again for our friend Eric over at Concierge to catch us up on other Disney news.
Hello everyone, this is Eric Johnson with Concierge and welcome to the D180. While Tag and Teresa cover all things Disneyland, in the D180 we take a spin around the rest of the Disney universe, and we do it in 180 seconds. Let's jump right in. Oh, there are so many new things. The Muppets have been ousted from their home in Hollywood Studios Grand Avenue, so let's take a moment to let that sink in. No, we need to keep moving. There's too much to talk about. The Muppets are one of my all-time favorites, and adding question marks around their fate is difficult to handle. Here's hoping that they will find a new home soon. Why do we think that? It's because news of cast members shooting a performance of the event, well, that's a good thing. As the park was closing one night, they brought together a bunch of cast members and they filled up that stadium, that arena, and reshot the entire performance in 3D. So we might get this on Disney Plus, we might get a VR view of the last performance, we also might see Imagineers who famously love the Muppets create a whole new experience somewhere else in the park. Maybe near the area where they're currently moving the Muppets into a roller coaster on the opposite side of Hollywood Studios. We'll just have to wait and see. I don't really have any other news other than that on that front. So who knows? No matter how this ends up, I've had amazing time seeing my Muppet friends in the Disney parks across Hollywood Studios at DCA and in the Magic Kingdom in Walt Disney World doing their There's shows about American history, which I absolutely loved. You know what? I'm content. We'll find some way to bring them all back together again, and it will be amazing. Just wait and see. Hey, there are new things to see at Test Track presented by General Motors. The new setup for this classic Epcot attraction gives us a new look behind the eyes of a vehicle as it traverses this terrain. I am sure this will still end with an extended, high adrenaline ride through the loop outside of the show building. It goes over 60 miles an hour. You're in a ride car. This is not what most people expect to see in a Disney attraction. It's fantastic. Regardless of how the interior of the show building is set up again, this new show opens up on July 22nd, which is not far away. Just a month. You can wait a month. Disney and General Motors apparently did a great job of refining this attraction without spending too much time or breaking the bank on the update. I hope you enjoyed our quick spin around the rest of the Disney universe. If you would like to learn more about these Disney adventures or just have a few questions, please come on over. Visit the social media and websites of both DLWeekly and Concierge. Then reach out to your personal travel planner, Teresa. She looks forward to planning something special for you and yours. I'm Eric Johnson, and this has been your D180.
Thanks, Eric.
Pilots, we've detected some producer questions near Jakku. Report to your DLWeekly vessels and make the jump to hyperspace. The 7-7 Squadron will provide support during your trivia mission. Good luck, and may the Force be with you.
Welcome to Trivia Land, where we have some wonderful listener-submitted questions all lined up for you. Tag Teresa, are you ready for this?
Woo! Let's go.
Woo!
I'm appreciating the excitement over there. All right.
We're hopped up on all of the caffeine and sugar from Snack Chat and all the coffees and drinks that we just worked our way through.
Sure.
Well, let's see if that caffeine gets into the brain and fires up those neurons and gets you those right answers. Starting off with your first listener-submitted question from listener Donna S. When was the Little Red Wagon corn dog stand put in Disneyland?
Wow.
I don't know why, but my brain just went 1977. So I'm going to say 1977.
You know, it's weird. I was thinking the 70s too, but I didn't have that specific of a like.
All I know is my brain
Apparently it came into town when Space Mountain.
As I turned towards you, my brain was just 77. I'm like, all right, I guess 77.
I'm going with 72. Again.
I feel like you
no
might be
idea
closer
why.
because I feel like it's been there longer than 70, but maybe.
We'll find out.
But we also forget that 77 was a long time ago, actually.
Yeah.
So.
You may have just offended some listeners that were alive in the 70s.
Well, it's one. No, not that at all. It's one of those, like, we don't think it's that long, but then it's like, oh, but it's also 2025.
That happens to me all the time when I'm thinking about, like, 2000. I'm like, that was 25 years ago.
Yeah. It's like,
Ow.
Yeah.
Why did you have to say that?
See?
I know.
Ow.
Well, let's ow into the next question.
Yes, so 1977 and 1972, final answers.
Yes.
I know.
Alrighty. Your second regular round question from listener Carter R. What was the original name for the Disneyland monorail, and until what year did they use that name?
Oh.
It's the Disneyland All-Wag monorail system, and they used that until...
Oh, that's right. Because what was it? The Skyliner, Skyview.
The
What was it? Skyview Liner.
The Viewliner.
Viewliner.
The thing that was the shiny train, basically.
Yeah. Because that was a different thing. That wasn't the monorail.
When did the Mark II come out? I'm gonna say like 65.
What was the question again?
Until what year did they use it? So what
Until
year did
what
they
year?
stop using
Until
it?
what year?
Yeah. So what did I say? 65? Did I say?
You said 64. I
Four?
thought, but you can change it to
I'll say 65. I think it was 65, maybe. It was whenever the Mark II came out, but I don't remember when the Mark II came out.
I feel like we're missing something here because is it really like we're calling it a name change even though they just shortened it?
Well, because
Or was there
Allweg
something else?
stopped being part of it, so that's a name change.
I suppose. But I feel like it was something like... I don't know.
I
That
think you're
seems like a
overthinking
trick question is what that seems like. Okay, what did you say, 1965?
Yeah, what are you saying? You
Same
also say
thing.
the Disneyland Allweg monorail system?
Yes. Allweg monorail.
Disneyland Allweg monorail.
I'm shortening it. We don't have enough space
Sure.
for me to write it. I'm going on in between. We're not doing the full name. We're not doing the new short name.
As long as Vern knows the
full.
full name, because he is grading us on that, I
Yes,
think.
I heard what you said.
The
Got it written down.
Disneyland. Okay, fine.
Yep.
The Disneyland.
And Tag said 1965, and
I-
Teresa is saying
I'm going to say 1963.
1963.
Now watch,
Final
it's going to be
answer.
64. Yes.
All right. Your third regular round question from listener Andy M. There are at least 13 weather vanes with the north, south, east, west cardinal markers at Disneyland. Can you name them? Bonus for describing the icons.
The Haunted Mansion has a ship. The Jolly Holiday has Mary Poppins.
Peter Pan has the Jolly Roger,
Peter
doesn't
Pan
it?
has the Jolly Roger. Yep. Mr. Toad has his motor. Motor car.
Sure.
Pinocchio has Monstro the
Oh,
whale.
slow down. I'm trying to write these down. I got it. Haunted Mansion with the ship.
There's
Jolly Holiday with
13
Mary
of them?
Poppins.
Did you say there was 13 of them?
At least 13.
So Haunted Mansion,
We got 5.
Jolly Holiday, Peter Pan, Mr. Toad, Pinocchio.
I don't think there's one on Snow White.
Is there another one in New Orleans Square?
You know what? We're going to say that there's one on what's the cookies restaurant? Harbor Galley. That seems like a place that would have
But we don't know
one,
what
right?
it is,
No,
huh?
but we don't know what it is.
I feel like everything in Fantasyland should, because if they're going to put it on so many, it should be on all of them, right?
But Alice, the's not an Alice one.
But I mean like Snow White would have one, maybe?
I don't think there is one. Yeah. I get what you're saying, but I don't think there
1,
is
2,
one.
3, 4, 5. We have 6.
Oh my
We're not even
gosh,
halfway
we're not
there.
even halfway there. Does the train station have one?
They have flags. Disneyland and the U.S. flag.
There is. Doesn't the castle have one? It's really boring. I'm gonna say Sleeping Beauty's castle. Oh, over at the monorail, like the little I don't know, shade thing that's in front of the tower, the shade thing, the shade structure that's in front of the loading zone.
Okay.
Matterhorn.
The other
I like
one?
that you're just throwing stuff
I'm
out
sorry,
there.
what did you say for that one?
Huh?
What was the last one you just said?
The Matterhorn.
Okay.
Did you get Sleeping Beauty Castle
Nope. Matterhorn, Sleeping
or Harbor
Beauty.
Galley?
What was that one?
Maurice's Treats has stuff on top.
The last one you just said, Tag?
Harbor Galley. And Teresa just said Maurice's
Yeah,
Treats.
I added Maurice's Treats. That might be a total not it at all, but we're going with it.
I think we should just stop
Does
because
the
I think
fantasy fair?
I don't. You've already named more than I could
Toontown?
possibly
I
know.
bet you somebody has one in Toontown.
Probably.
Mickey. We're gonna say Mickey's house in Toontown.
I'm gonna say City Hall in Toontown because that seems like where it would be.
Do you think City Hall on Main Street has one?
Yeah, I think City Hall Toontown might have something.
I'm gonna go with train station.
I'm really excited to get the answer to this, though. That's for sure.
Okay. Do you need us to go back, Vern?
Okay, so I've got the Haunted Mansion has a ship. Jolly Holiday has Mary Poppins. Peter Pan has one. Toad.
Peter Pan has the Jolly Roger ship.
The Jolly
Yep.
Roger, okay. Toad's Wild Ride. Pinocchio.
That Toad's Wild Ride has Mr. Toad hanging on to his motor car.
Okay.
Pinocchio has Monstro the whale.
Okay. The Matterhorn. Sleeping Beauty's Castle. Arbor Alley. Maurice's Treats. Toontown City Hall. And the train station.
What is this one? What did I do? MH.
Maurice's Treats.
Yeah, no, I did that one, but
Oh,
now
I don't know what MH
I've
was.
lost my shorthand now.
I don't know what to tell you. Where did you put Sleep? Oh, SBC is Sleeping Beauty Castle.
SBC Sleeping Beauty Castle. Matterhorn is the only one I actually spelled out. Mr. Mr. Toad, Maurice's Treats. What's another MH? Not Mad Hatter.
The Mickey's House?
Yeah, Mickey's House. That's what it was.
And City Hall.
Okay.
City Hall,
and
ToonTown.
ToonTown. And what was your TS?
TS was...
Train station.
Train station. Okay. I think that's where we're stopping.
I shouldn't be allowed to do shorthand.
Okay, final answer?
I think so.
All right. And your fourth and final regular round question from listener Andrew G. True or false? Google Maps shows bike lanes inside Disneyland.
What? I'm going to say false. No! I'm going to say true, because I bet it's backstage.
I'm also going to say true. And it probably is backstage. Because where else would you bike in Disneyland? Yeah.
All right. Final answer?
Yes.
Okay. And your bonus round from listener Ezekiel. What is the name of the clock on the exterior of It's a Small World?
Oh, shoot.
There's a name?
Yes. Yes.
Is it like German?
I don't remember.
It's not just a glockenspiel, because that's kind of like the type of clock, isn't it?
Yeah. We can go with that.
Glockenspiel?
Yeah, we'll go with Glockenspiel. Maybe it's like Glockenspiel, like it's a play on it.
Maybe.
Glockenspiel, final answer?
I think so.
All right. Well, listeners, how do you think they did? How did you do listening at home? If you'd like to find out, stick around until after the discussion, and we'll all find out together.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you. For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just text WATER to 64,000. That's WATER to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. WATER to 64,000.
By texting 64,000, you agree to receive recurring automated marketing messages from Pocket Hose. Message and data rates may apply. No purchase required. Terms apply. Available at pockethose.com/terms.
Well, this week we have a special guest with us. You may have heard of a couple of things that he's worked on. We have Jymn Magon with us. He did all sorts of different things with Disney, including working in Disney Records, onto the Disney television animation, worked on all sorts of things, which we will get into. But welcome, Jym. We are very excited to have you on.
Thank you so much. This is a real joy for me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, right? That's it.
Oh, there's more. Oh, okay.
We had the pleasure of meeting Jym at the Disneyana event, which we've talked about on a previous episode at this point, but that's where we came in. So we know a little bit about you, Jym, but let's have you kind of give a little backstory to our listeners. Tell us your Disney story. What got you interested in Disney? And you can be as detailed as you like with this, or as brief. We'll dig into all the details either way a little bit later.
Fine.
Yep. So this will just kind of be up until you started with the company.
Yeah, I did stuff, and then I went to Disney. No, I'm from Michigan originally, and I grew up luckily with a television in the house when I was about 4 or 5, and there was this show on called the Mickey Mouse Club, and it was like, okay, well, why don't they call me? I want to be on that show. And ever since then, every time there was a, Disney special or the wonderful world of color, and whatnot, I would watch all these shows and just eat my liver, as they say, because it's like this looks great. This looks so cool. I love the cartoons. In fact, I'm such a nerd. I used to get up when I was in college. I would get up on Saturday morning and go down to the rec room and turn on the TV and watch cartoons all morning, which meant everybody in the place thought I was a nerd, and I was. And then the great news is that I was doing I was a disc jockey for the college radio station, and I used to write and produce these old radio shows parodies. So I would write the stuff, and then I would cast it, and then I would put it all together and find the music and whatnot. And it was a lot of fun, but I never made a penny off of it. And lo and behold, one of the guys that was in one of my shows, his name was Gary Kreisel, and Gary was working at Disneyland at the time. And I remember thinking, "Oh, you lucky guy." He says, "You know what? You should do this. You should do this like as a living." And I said, "Yeah, but they wouldn't want me at Disney. They've got talented people there." And lo and behold, after I got out of the Navy in 1976, I said, "I want to work for Disney." And they said, "Well, why don't you write up a spec script?" And so I wrote, I'm so embarrassed. There was a magazine called, I don't know, Disney News or Disney Eat My Shorts or something. It was a Disney publication. And they were doing comic strips of Mickey and Goofy as kind of Sherlock Holmes and Watson. And so I wrote up this whole ridiculous scenario, this, Sherlock Holmes spoof with Mickey and Goofy. And I turned it in. I sent it I was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. I sent it to California and said, "What do you think?" I wish I had a copy of it. It was formatted horribly. It was single spaced. It was terrible. I mean, it was designed terribly.
Mm-hmm.
It was funny, but and lo and behold, they said, "Listen, why don't you come out here? There's something we want to talk to you about." I said, "Okay." So when my wife finished teaching, we were in Virginia at the time. We said, "Okay, we're going to drive cross country," and we drive cross country to California, which is just on the way, and lo and behold, they said, "Oh, you've produced these radio shows, which includes music, dialogue, and effects. And guess what story records are? Music, dialogue, and effects." I said, "Oh, I can do that." I had never been in a professional recording studio.
Wow.
I'd never worked with a professional actor.
Yeah.
And so I was really jazzed. And I thought, how much do I have to pay them to work here? And kind of the rest is history.
That's incredible.
Well, no, I know we're going to get into all this stuff, but I just got to tell you, they, meaning the Walt Disney Music Company, had just gotten the rights to the little golden books. If you remember those little things you read as kids.
Yeah.
And they said, "We have 24 titles that we want to turn into story records. Go." "Oh, okay. When do you need it?" "Oh, I don't know, 2 months. We got to do it fast." "Okay. Oh, by the way, we want songs in every single record." "Okay." And
wow.
I did that, and I turned everything in, 24 records. And I kind of sat there and figured out, based on what they were paying me at the time, that they wanted me to, write, produce, record, put it all together and turn it in. I made $75 per record.
Wow.
As a record producer. And I thought, wow, I'm famous, So that's how I started. And basically, I think they thought, well, we'll get him out here to do this and then we'll tell him to go home. But it didn't work out that way. I ended up staying there for 17 and a half years. So
Wow.
it was
awesome.
I've talked too much. I just want to hear all about, your lives and what you've done at Disneyland, and it's probably more interesting than my life.
I don't
Not at
know.
all.
That's pretty.
Oh,
that was
come
pretty
on.
good.
You were
That
just
was
in
pretty good.
California.
We were just out there for a week. It was wonderful.
Okay.
Speaking of the parks, when you visit Disneyland, which I'm sure
Yes.
you do on occasion,
Oh,
do
yeah.
you have a certain way that you like to go? Do you like to start in like Adventureland, or do you like to hang out on Main Street? Do you have like a way that you like to visit the park?
You are so funny. No, I'll tell you why. There's a joke, which is I drove down to Anaheim
Mhm.
and I saw a sign and it said Disneyland left. And so I said, well, I'll go home then. You've heard that joke, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You're the first one to
So-
tell it on the podcast, though.
All right, write that down. I want to get a plaque or something. It's so odd that you say that because Disneyland opened in 1955,
Mhm.
and Walt really pushed hard to get that brand going. And so he called his TV show Disneyland, and he called his park Disneyland. I never called anything Magon Land, but be that as it may. So he had Disneyland in Disneyland TV show, and then he wanted to do something with consumer products called Disneyland Records.
Oh, mhm.
And I don't know if they even call it that anymore. But I used to tell people, they'd say, what do you do? I said, I'm a producer for Disneyland Records. And they said, that must be a long commute, I said, I don't go to Disneyland to do my job. I'm sorry. But no, I was very excited. I really wanted to go to Disneyland. And sadly, the 5-year-old in me had to wait till I was 17 to finally get to Disneyland. And I got to tell you, I got there in 1967, and that's when they still had books that said A ticket, B ticket, And of course, as a kid, it's like, well, what should I spend this one on, And I wanted to see the dinosaurs, but I didn't know where they were. And I'm arguing with my parents. I don't want to go on that ride. I want to go on that ride, So I was kind of a whiny nerd, I guess. And I was tickled. I would, I think like most people, I just leave me here. I'll live here and hide somewhere. But what do? I park the car, which used to be in front of the ticket booth. And then you walk in and you go past the railroad station and you're in Main Street in the square. And then it's like, well, now what do I do? Just go in, Well, I know what I do now, but back then it was just like anywhere. Let's just go anywhere. I want to go everywhere. And boy, that's real. That sounds so stupid and boring now, but that's how I felt.
So which way do you go now?
Oh, Ted, you're killing me. You're killing me, Smalls.
These are the things our listeners want to know, Jim.
No. Yeah. Yeah, that's what's great is that, Jym Magon's on. He's going to tell us what we should do when we get to Disney. And the thing is, I've been there numerous times, and I would never say this out loud because, they'll put me in Disney jail, but it's very expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't go there very often anymore. But when I was working at Disneyland, when I was working at the Disneyland Records on the Walt Disney Film Studio lot, I had a ID card, which I don't have anymore, and it had a picture of me with a blue background, and the blue meant that I was something more than a gardener, that I was an executive, so to speak, and that blue background meant that I could show that card and get my family into the park for free.
Very nice.
Yay. So I've been there so often now that it isn't like when I go to the park now, oh, I got to get over the Tahitian Terrace or something. It's like, I've been there, I've done it, So I can't say that I rush toward anything, but I must say, I still like the standards. I like Pirates and I like the Haunted Mansion. And, now they're going to tear out Tom Sawyer's Island and build some other thing. And
at least that's in Florida, not Disneyland.
Yep.
Don't give people.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah,
going to rip
Disney
it out
World.
of Disneyland.
Nope.
Yeah, no, Disney
Just in
World,
Disney World.
thankfully.
Well, don't I feel a fool?
That's okay.
Oh, no, it's not.
I just didn't want to give our listeners a heart attack because Disneyland fans are a different level, and if they threatened to do that in land, there would be like riots in the street. There would be people tying themselves to the front gates of the
Jim
park
would
and everything.
be with them rioting. And
I mean,
tying
that's
themselves to the
true.
gate.
I mean, I would too.
Yeah. So I can't tell you. Forgive me, listeners. I can't tell you what I would do first.
We call that we let the Disney winds take us. You just go with where the day's going.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I want to ride on the sky buckets. Oh, they don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I'll get on the people mover. Nah, that's not there. So
you listed two of my favorite attractions that are gone now.
Yeah. I have to tell you this. Maybe I told you, maybe I wrote it in an email. I don't know. But I actually worked at the parks during the holidays.
Oh, yeah.
They used to have a day that they set aside for all the Disney employees to come over to the park with their families and just be there, get on the rides and, which is great. But then they needed somebody to run the rides.
How did that go?
Well, that's the fun part. They would contact us executives, and say, we want you to work at the park this evening. Come on down and, we'll figure out where to put you and how to clothe you and whatnot. And I said, okay. So the first year that I did that, I was working at some, food court or something, and I think I found that amusing because, when you go there now, it's kind of like, I want a hot dog and a Coke, and it's like, okay, I'll get a hot dog and I'll get a, it's like, come on, just grab it and put it on the counter. It's not a big deal, And so that wasn't a lot of fun. But in the following years, I got to be a pirate on Pirates of the Caribbean. And I got to be a ghost host, at the Haunted Mansion.
Nice.
So they put me in this pirate gear. They put me in this green wool suit coat, for the Haunted Mansion. And I had a ball. I mean, it was great. I know you guys have never been on any of those rides, but in the
not for a week, anyways.
A long time. It's been a long time. So I'm in my pirate suit, and there's a guy that's kind of, babysitting the executives who don't know what they're doing. And he says, do you want to walk through the ride? And I said, really? Cool.
Wow.
I don't have to sit in a boat. This is great. So he walked me all through the ride, and you never realize really how sort of clever and compact everything is. And of course, there's all these audio animatronic pirates, and so this guy and I were in pirate garb. We're walking along and we cross a bridge, where I think there's a guy with a bottle of rum in his arms and his leg is dangling.
Yep.
And we walked across that bridge, and I was hearing people in the boats saying, wow, they're so lifelike. Okay. They thought we were auto animatronics or something. I don't know.
You're awfully advanced to be walking across the bridge.
Oh, absolutely. But it gets better. And I know you guys don't care about Disneyland, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. When I was at the Haunted Mansion, you work different shifts. Sometimes you're at the front door and sometimes you're at the loading, loading onto the dune buggies and whatnot. So I'm working there for the evening, and one of the people there said, "Have you been up to the very, very top of the Haunted Mansion, which is this little octagonal cupola up there? You know what I'm talking about?"
Yeah, up where the weather vane is.
Yeah, absolutely. I said, "You can get up there?"
That's what I was just thinking.
You go through here, and then you go up there, and then you climb over these pipes, and then, I thought, okay, I'm doing this. So on my break, I clamber up all these different places, and it's wonderful because, you think, oh, this is the ballroom, and there's people dancing, and there's, all this, the attic up there. Oh, it's all so cool. No, where I'm going, it looks like the attic of your house. It's like beams of wood. It's just, it's the part of the ride you never go on.
Yeah.
So I climb up there, and I get all the way up, and lo and behold, I'm up at the very top of the building, and I'm looking out. It's like I can see all of Disneyland from up here. This is great. Oh, it's so exciting. Okay, I'm going to go back to work now. And I clamber back down through all the wood and everything. But the fun part is that, I saw a trap door. This is great. I want to see what's under here. And I lift it, and I look down, and I'm actually above the skeleton that's hanging.
Oh, yeah.
In the lobby, right? Yeah. There's always my way out, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm looking down on all these people down there, and I'm above the skeleton, and it's like, holy crap, I hope nobody sees me. I close the door, and I get all the way back down, and I thank the guy. I said, that was really fun. He says, that's great. Did you sign your name?
Oh.
I said, what? He says, yeah, everybody that goes up there signs their name on the wood up there. Oh, crap. I said, I'm never going to get back up there. Oh, man. So anyway, there's a little inside story for you.
That's you crazy. Just did a bucket list item that like any fan would want to be able to do. So that's amazing.
No, that's just it. It's that, how long had I worked there then? I don't know. 6-7 years. I don't know what I was. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big geek. And lo and behold, I'm wearing the costume, and I'm working in this cool building, this cool attraction. And I'm wandering around, all the back ins and outs of the ride. And I didn't sign my name up there.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sad.
You had emailed in, and you were talking about how your time at the studios kind of collided with the parks in a very fun way, because there was this really cool band that wasn't around for very long, but now people are so curious about. Let's talk about Helix.
Helix. Oh, my God.
We have actually had people come on and talk about Helix. We had someone that did a documentary on Helix that came on and talked about it. Yes. So,
and they interviewed me for that documentary.
There you go.
So I donated several pieces of artwork that I had kept from that time period. And we were very fortunate that the whole top floor of the ROD building, Roy O. Disney building, which had just been built around 77 or something, consumer products was everything that consumers buy. So they had a small section where, they would do sell setups that they would sell at the park. And then we had the comic book crew over here. And, like all these great artists are working there. Publicity was up there at one time. And be that as it may, whenever we were working on a new project, we would go to one of these artists and say, we need some mock-ups for this, that, and the other. And they would do these marvelous drawings. And boy, I ran off track there for a second. That ride I was on, that's not there anymore. My train of thought.
Your train, it's left the station.
So anyway, I can't give you all the ins and outs and the background on how this all came to be, but somehow someone got it in their head that, well, we're the music company. We should come up with something for the park, some sort of entertainment. Great. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a band. Okay, that's great. But what's sort of cool looking and current? I don't know, Star Wars, you know? And it's like, okay. So we start to put this band together. And of course, I've never put a band together, and I don't think you have either. But
No.
but we went out and got this guy, kind of well known, named Mike Post, who had done all this music for Greatest American Hero and 10 Speed and Brown Shoe and Hill Street Blues. In his day, he was a rock and roller, and now he was doing scores for television and whatnot. So Mike Post says, "Sure, that sounds like fun." So we we bring him into the office and we start to talk around, what the band's going to look like and how it should sound and what it should look like and whatnot. And bless his heart, Mike knew what he was doing. He knew what he wanted to hear. And we actually had auditions for the lead singer. And I don't know what the ad looked like, but it was in Variety or something, Disneyland looking for female singers, rock and roll singers. So all these girls show up, to audition, and we're on, I don't know, I think we were on a sound stage somewhere. And I was there for the auditions, and I've got my pad of paper, and I'm trying to look like I know what I'm doing. So I'm writing down names and my impressions of what's going on. And the very, very first person that walked in the door was Laura Mumford. And she was a killer singer. She was great. And I can remember writing down Laura Mumford. What was my impression? Punk Snow White was what I wrote.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the first person in is the person that got hired, but we had to listen to all these other people. So Laura's cast, and now we need a lead guitar player, we need a keyboardist, we need a drummer, all the typical things for a rock band. And the keyboard player turned out to be her husband. And you couldn't see him because he was in a robot costume with a robot head and this robot cart he was on with all his keyboards. And he knew someone, and somebody knew someone else, and slowly this band came together, and we had this crazy percussionist who was a gymnast, and we had this fantastic bass player, and he was in this huge, we called it the Wookiee costume. It was a big furry costume, and it must have weighed a ton, and he probably sweated off 10 pounds per performance. But anyway, we put this band together, and they rehearsed, and they like, what songs are we going to get? And you can watch the documentary and see all the backstory on that stuff. But we put this band together, and we go to Disneyland and say, we've got this band. And they said, well, we want them to perform on the Tomorrowland stage, which isn't there anymore. And I said, okay. We set them up, and we have all these special effects, which are fireworks and light shows and lasers, and they're playing some kick-ass rock and roll. And one of the songs they sort of became famous for was this song called Jailbait, which is like the last thing you want to hear anyone sing at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's just, it's like, get away from me. You're jailbait. You're too young,
Yeah.
But no, they rock and rolled, there for, I think, 2 months during the summer. And I was just, I loved to go see them, and they were great. They got a fan club, and I know you're not recording, but they did this sign, which was for Halix. And nobody knows what Halix means. We just made it up. But I thought it was great. And now, as an older gentleman, I think no wonder Disneyland hated them, because they were A, too loud, and B, all the people that came to see them came to see them, and they sat there for an hour show. They weren't buying food. They weren't getting on the rides. They were just there to see this rock and roll band, which I think the entertainment department thought, no, we want like the Kids of the Kingdom to come out and do 3 dance numbers and get the hell off the stage, you know? So I think, whereas we thought what we did was really choice, good intentions.
Yeah.
I don't think Disneyland was very pleased with it. And so eventually the summer was over, the group kind of broke up, and Mike Post had a deal with Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers had this label under them called Electra Asylum, and he had some contract with them, and he was going to do a recording with Helix, and they were going to have an album. And of course, welcome to the world, everything goes askew.
Yeah.
And they never released an album, and everybody went their separate ways. And eventually the lovely punk Snow White died of a heart attack before long. So it's kind of a sad story, but at the time I can remember just being so enthralled with this group because we had this frog acrobat, and we had a great lead guitarist, Bruce Gowdy, and we had this Wookiee bass player and this keyboard guy in this cart. And again, I knew about as much about rock and roll bands as I did about recording with professionals in a professional studio. I had no experience whatsoever. So I kept grabbing images out of Billboard magazine. Like, here's Susie Quattro, and here's those were all kind of in jumpsuits and leather and whatnot. And all these artists are doing all this marvelous these drawings, of what the band looks like. Unfortunately, we didn't know what the name of the group was, so in this artwork it said Starfire. We never called it that, but that's what they were called briefly. And you've got to forgive me, please. I'm sitting here with the president of the music company, Mike Post, and I said, I have an idea for a name. How about Squad? SKWAD or something. It's good for Schuyler Ward Air Defense System or something. I don't know. And I described what I was thinking. And I think Mike Post turned to me and said, Jim, you're thinking too hard. Okay. So I thought it should have been Squad, but Helix was a good name.
I feel like it was kind of ahead of its time in a way because, years later, they built Videopolis, right? And they brought all the kids in and stuff. So it was really, I don't know, looking back on it, it was such a interesting moment in time for the parks and for you and just everybody involved. But it's so interesting that it happened at all. And nowadays it just sounds fantastical. Like, I can't believe this thing happened there. But I think it was just ahead of its time, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for those that are interested, I looked it up. It was episode 345 that we had Matthew Serrano on, and he was the one that directed the Defunct Land video.
Yeah.
Stars Jim and talks about Helix. Yeah. But the cool thing about that video is, for those of us that never got to experience or see it, there was a ton of footage on that video, so you could really get to see what this was all about. You could see the frog acrobat, and you can see the Wookiee playing bass and all that. It was just such a spectacle, and it blows my mind that these performers were doing all of this in the California summer. In all of these really, the keyboarder was completely inside this, like you said, almost like a robot thing, and the cart would come out and there'd be fog, and it was just, it looked so
and
cool.
Bright lights, and it was really neat. And the sad part is that a keyboard player is about as interesting as a lamppost, but we put them on wheels, and I remember looking through these catalogs for golf carts, and I found this one that I thought, this is the size we want. It's a one-person cart, and we can put the keyboards, up here and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody drew up conceptually what it should look like, and had a robot in the seat and all these lights and everything. And I then had to go over to, oh God, I never told this story. I had to go over to one of the companies that Disney hired to make them things.
Yeah.
This company is famous for having created the Main Street Electrical Parade.
Mm.
And I go into their shop, and it's like, holy Christmas, there's like, giant lit up things. And, it probably felt like what you'd feel like if you went into, what they were doing with Star Wars at the time. Oh, we built this whole Death Star. And, so I go in there and I say, here's what we want. And this is the platform we think it should go on. And when can you have it? And I was told, okay, where are the schematics? Where's the, it's like, here, build this building. Well, where are the blueprints?
Sure.
I don't know. I thought you guys figure that stuff out.
You're like, I just work at Disneyland Records. Don't ask
exactly.
me to figure out the measurements.
So, God bless everyone. They all worked really hard on that group.
The thing that's wild to me about Helix too is that you can tell that there was so much time, energy, and effort put into creating it, and the fact that it was only there, what'd you say, 2 months?
Yeah.
Like, it took you guys, it had to have taken longer than 2 months to put the whole thing together. So
Exactly.
That's the other sad thing about the short-lived time of Helix, Disneyland's Forgotten Rock Band.
But same thing, pick your favorite movie.
Mm.
How long is it? I don't know, 2 hours, hour and a half?
Yeah.
How many hours did they put into making it?
True.
Months, years, crazy.
Yeah. Very,
But
very
unlike Helix, you could watch it 1,000 times if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So what was the transition? So you started, like you said, in like the records and the music stuff. So how did that transition to what you're probably more well known for, which is the Disney television animation and all the fun Disney afternoon cartoons that you helped create?
No,
Which also, I just want to say for our listeners, Jim is living in an animated town on our Zoom call. So
Yes,
he has never left Disney TV animation.
It is. The gummy bears are right back there. I'll tell you. And again, I teach animation writing. I started at UCLA Extension Program, and I've taught in Barcelona and Australia and Finland and Moscow, and I've taught all over the place. And one of the things that I tell them is, you got to write all the time. You got to look at everything. My wife is the type who fast forwards through commercials, and it's like, you know how long they spent making this 30-second commercial?
Yeah.
Pay attention, So people will say to me, well, so what's your career path? And I said, I'm embarrassed to tell you this, but if you look at my career path, I'm probably just the luckiest guy in the world, because I never struggled to get this, or I'm going to try and move over to do that.
Right place, right time.
Exactly. But, and I can't make that happen for myself anymore, for anybody else. I said, you just got to kind of get out your machete and start chopping through the jungle, and just doing your job. So I'm at Disneyland Records. I am running out of patience we were doing story records for E.T., Star Wars, Charlie Brown, Rainbow Bright, all these companies were coming to us to do their records.
Yeah.
And I was getting to the point where it's like, okay, I've done Mickey Mouse Disco. We sold 3 million copies. I'm a genius, blah, 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 blah. 1984 rolls around, and the company is, I don't even know if they do this anymore. They used to be called Green Mail. That, there would be these companies that would look for organizations that were in trouble. They'd buy them up, and then they would break it up and sell all the pieces,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Which means Disney would have been, they'll sell the movies over here and they'll sell the park over here and they'll,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't think any of us wanted to think too much about it because it would have meant we all lose our jobs. Lo and behold, some deal is struck. And again, I'm an insider. I know everything that happens. Some deal is struck with these, I think, brothers from Texas. They're going to fund, they're going to pour some money into the company, but they want to revamp it so that it's more gooder. Is that the right word? Gooder.
Sure, we'll go with it.
Okay. I'm a writer, so I know this. And they said, you've got to bring in a new management team. And so they got a hold of Michael Eisner and Frank Wells from Paramount Studios, who Disney had done 2 films with. I won't tell you what they are, but you can check on him. And so sure enough, Eisner comes over, Frank Wells comes over. Eventually they bring Katzenberg over. And Eisner isn't there a week when he says, I want to have a meeting with some of the most creative people I can get. Come to my house and I want to tell you what I've got in my head. Okay. So I didn't ask to become famous doing Mickey Mouse Disco, but I was famous. And so I get invited to this thing and I drive to Bel Air on a Sunday morning and pull in through the gate, and he's on this, lush mansion layout, a little bigger than my house. And I walk in the wrong door. I go in through the kitchen, and there's this kids, eating cereal in their pajamas. And I'm feeling, oh, this is a down to earth guy. This will work. So we sit on this couch, and Eisner sits on this part of the couch, and I'm sitting directly to his right. And there are several other people there. And he says, I want to create a new department called Walt Disney Television Animation. Why? Well, he worked for ABC for a while, and I think he greenlit Scooby-Doo from Hanna-Barbera,
Oh.
He's like, why don't we do that stuff? Oh, okay. I don't know why I'm here, but okay. You know what? You're the CEO. I'm not. You do what you want. Go ahead. It's great. So he says, my kids went to camp, one of his kids, and came back from camp and said, oh, they've got this new treat that all the kids are eating. It's called gummy bears. Okay, great. Wonderful. That's really nice. I saw one of the kids. He's eating cereal. And he says, I don't know much about it. I know it's popular. And then he doesn't know me from Adam. He doesn't know me at all. But he turns to his right where I'm sitting and says, make me a show called Gummy Bears. And I thought, cool, yeah, good idea. That's a wonderful idea, So after the meeting, we all get in our crappy little cars and drive down to Westwood, which is just down the hill from Bel Air. We go to a coffee shop, right, to do like our download of, our post-mortem game, after this meeting. And they said, so what do you think about this? And I said, well, I don't think it's a very good idea, because why would you make a show about these cute little characters that get eaten all the time?
Yeah.
It does, there's no future to it. Well, you know what? He's taking over the entire company. He's got 1 million people, scrambling to get his ear and, make decisions. And, oh, that's great, And I figure he's never going to remember this. He's never going to, it's gone. It's out of his head. He said it, it's over. So I go back to my job producing children's records. I'm in the ROD building, Royal Disney building. And a couple of weeks later, I get a call. It says, hi, this is, Mrs. So-and-so. Michael Eisner wants to chat with you. What? Of course. Hey, how's it going? Yeah. He said, how's my show coming along? And I'm thinking, holy crap.
You're like, oh no, he remembered.
Yeah, he remembered. And of course, I'm a very truthful person. So I said, it's going great. I'm working on it right now. And he says, terrific. I want to see what you're doing next week or whatever. And I was like, oh, crap. Okay, thanks. I'll be there. Oh, boy, it'll be fun. Hang up. Oh, God. What am I going to do? So, I come up with this ridiculous sort of Candyland idea. There's candy over here and there's candy over here. And I could show you some pictures of artwork we had made up where we had the evil licorice whip and Scummy Gummy. And it was just crazy stuff. And along comes Michael Webster, who had worked for an ad agency. And he said, we've got to get a director producer for this show. And we were also working on a show called The Wuzzles, which is another story. And he said, so we're hiring this guy that made a film called The Gallivants. Terrific. His name is Art Vitello. Terrific. So they send me over to this Brighton building across the street, which is not part of the Disney organization. And that's where they've stuck Art. And he's in some empty room with a television. And Jim, this is Art. Art, this is Jim. You guys are now married. See you later. And Webster walks out. And Art and I look at each other, like, hi. And I show him what we're doing. And he said, do you know who Miyazaki is? Hayao, I can't pronounce his name. Miyazaki? I said, no, I don't. Well, he does these amazing cartoons in Japan. And I want you to watch 2 of them. Okay. He jams these cassettes into the tape machine. And I sit there and I watch Laputa, or Castle in the Sky, I think is what they called it here, and some other one. And I'm blown away. I mean, this stuff is gorgeous. He's doing these aerial acrobatics, and it was just brilliant. I said, this is great. This is really great. He says, this is what I want the show to feel like. Okay, great, And we work, and along comes, we've got a working Bible, we have artwork, we've designed all the characters, wonderful. So we go to try and sell it to one of the 3 networks. And we take it to we take it to several places, but we take it to ABC. Mm-hmm. And there's this boy, and he finds the gummy bears who are hidden in the forest, and he drinks the gummy berry juice, and it makes him strong, but it doesn't make the bears strong. They bounce. It was so convoluted. I don't know why anyone would buy it. And they said, okay, yeah, let's do that. Great. Only one problem. Oh, yeah, what's that? You haven't got one female in the entire show. Oh, well, that's the next thing we're working on. So we took a couple of the characters and said, that's now Grammy Gummy, and that's now Sunny Gummy, Mm-hmm. And okay, fine. We need the scripts by such and such a date, and then we're going to do 13 episodes and go. Wow. Okay. I've never written for television. I've never produced a TV show. Oh God.
You learned to swim real quick, huh?
Well, that's the point, is that when you say, how did you transition? It's like, I don't know. It just happened.
You just did.
If you ever saw the original Pee Wee Herman show that he did as a stage show,
mm-hmm.
the motif is he wants to fly. That's his greatest wish, is as a little boy, he wants to fly. And at the end of the show, he gets his wish and he's flying. And he turns to the audience and says, I'm the luckiest boy in the world. And that's how I felt. I'm the luckiest boy in the world, you know?
Well, you seem to follow the time-earned Disney tradition like Walt did to his animators. Guess what? We're making a theme park. Well, I don't know how to do that. Well, guess what? And that's sometimes that creates the best things, right? Because you don't know what you can't do, so you do crazy stuff that works out great.
Exactly.
And then, so how many seasons did the Gummy Bears run?
Aren't you sweet? You're really sweet. We did one season, which was 13 episodes. And when I say episodes, that means it's a 22-minute show because a half-hour show has got ads in it. So you're really doing 22 minutes of storytelling. But we would also sometimes do 2 11-minute stories. And that's an episode. Okay. So we did 13 episodes through 13 weeks of Gummy Bears. Great. So now what? Guess what? We're going to pick you up for another season. It's going to be 10 episodes or 8, something like that. But like, okay. Art and I said, let's do it. And we did a second season. And I was just not getting along with anyone over there at ABC. And I think they said to my boss, perhaps the show will go better if Jim's not involved, which is a nice way of saying, get him off the show. And it's like, okay. And I was devastated. It's like, this is my baby, you know. I thought, oh God, don't do this to me. I've got nothing else I can do. No. Go over here and work on DuckTales. Okay. Next thing I know, I'm writing 5-part episodes that they're cutting into movies that they're showing in prime time. What?
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, you know, the thing is, you're there, and then somebody says, oh, I got this idea for Fluffy Dogs. Oh, I've got this idea for whatever, you know. And who are we going to turn to? Well, we got Jim and Art and Larry, and, you know, and that's what happens is you get in a rotation where you pitch and then you sell it and then you run it and then you come up with a new show and start all over again. So I was involved with the creation of, I think, almost everything for the first 9 or 10 years at TV Animation.
Wow. So for those of us that, like, I try and list, okay, so we've got Gummy Bears, we've got DuckTales, we've got Darkwing Duck.
We got Gummy Bears and Wuzzles.
Oh, yeah, Wuzzles.
Shows. And then they started developing DuckTales with another team. But when I came in, I was like a separate unit, and I was doing these, you know, feature-length episode things. And I had my own team. And so I'm over here doing this, and they're over there doing that. And then the show goes on the air, and they ordered 65 episodes of DuckTales. Why? Because we were leaving the networks behind and going to syndication, which means you go to the different syndicates in the country, and, you know, this syndicate will have, we've got Chicago and Detroit and New York, you know. And so they go to this convention and they look at all the different shows that are being pitched, and they say, we'll take that and we'll buy that, you know, kind of thing, which is great. But they do 65 episodes. Why? Because they're showing a new show every single day of the week, 5 days a week, right?
Yeah.
Times 13 comes out to the number 65, which means that they can now run the show from beginning to end 4 times in a year. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay. So great. Now we're doing 65 episodes of our shows. Isn't that great? Oh, wait a second. Now we're doing Winnie the Pooh over here. Who should we get to do that? I said, why don't you use Mark Zaslav? He works really well with me, and I think he'd be great. Great. We'll let Mark do that. So I read a few of those, and that show won an Emmy. And then I worked with Cad Stone, right? And he's developing a show about these little small detectives who basically take the cases that fall through the cracks. In other words, the cops are too busy and it's beneath them to get a cat out of a tree or whatever. So these little mice, put together a team and they solve problems. And they were known as the Rescue Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
And do you want to hear this, or is this just
yes, of course.
Okay. So Tad and I come up with these two mice. I think originally we called it Metro Mice or something, but anyway, we named them Kit Colby and Colt Cheddarson. We create this whole team for them, which included a nearsighted eagle and a kung fu expert named Chirp Singh, who was a cricket. I don't know, we just had this anyway. So we go to pitch this thing, and Eisner scratching his chin. Nobody's really sold on this idea. And he says, you know what we need? We need to have like something that the audience can really hook into here. Oh, okay. Talk to me,
Mm-hmm.
Instead of these two mice, what if we got like, I don't know, Chip and Dale? We can have Chip and Dale? Yeah. Well, we were told you do not do Goofy, you do not do Mickey, you do not do Donald. In fact, you don't do anybody.
Yeah, you got to make your own characters.
Right. And now we've got Chip and Dale. Let's go. Completely revamp the show. Everything's off it goes. Tad runs that show. I'm off doing, DuckTales and stuff. And lo and behold, management wants a 5-part episode that they can cut into a movie that they can show in prime time to convince the audience they should be watching Rescue Rangers. Great. So Tad comes up with this long story and turns it in. And my boss gets a call from BT, Buena Vista Television, BVT, Buena Vista Television. And they said, this isn't quite working for us. Can you get Jym Magon, who did those DuckTales movies, and just have him fix this thing? Okay. So I'm in the middle of trying to create a series, which eventually turns into Tailspin. And I'm trying to write a movie for the Disney Sunday movie. And now you want me to take over Rescue Rangers. Okay. So we do. Mark and I revamp the thing and it goes on the air. Everything's wonderful. And it was near the end of the series. We didn't have to really worry about too much because most of it was already done. And I'm told we need another series. Okay. So I came up with this idea called B Players. Do you want to hear this? This is
yes. I'm actually writing down notes so I can ask you questions about some of the things you've gone over.
There was a TV show called the A Team. Well, we had the players, they weren't the A Team, they were the B Team. And that's anyone that was in a Disney short or a Disney movie and did a couple of parts and then disappeared.
Sure.
Well, the sort of king of the B Players was Baloo, who was identical to Little John from Robin Hood.
Mm-hmm.
Same voice, same body structure, the bear. Baloo's great. Who are we going to team him up with? Well, we team him up with Ricky Rat, who happens to be a cousin of Mickey Mouse. And Ricky thinks he can be a star like Mickey, So we come up with this notion that Ricky Rat and Baloo decide, let's get together all of the B players from the back lot and we'll go bug Michael Eisner, the CEO, and get him to let us star in a Western or let us do a musical or that was the motif. Every week there'd be a different whatever. So we go and pitch that and we retool it a couple of times. We pitch it a couple of times. And finally, if I'm not mistaken, Katzenberg says to me, Jim, if you say B players one more time, I'm going to throw you out that window, which I took as a negative. But it's like, okay, back to the drawing board. Well, there's this big meeting that they have for all of the presidents and vice presidents of Disney at Disney World. They do this in January. And everybody is going to show up with here's what we're doing next year. And we've got nothing. Mm-hmm. Nothing to show. Oh, Christ. Michael Webster stops by my office and says, you better come up with something quick or it's going to be Tumbleweed City around here. Meaning everyone's going to get fired, you know. Oh, crap. So when DuckTales was pitched, originally there was this character named Launchpad McQuack. And Launchpad McQuack was an independent pilot and, pilot for hire kind of thing. And he had his own little company, and Scrooge McDuck hires him to, do these strange things. And I said, that's actually kind of an interesting idea. What if we take Baloo and make him the pilot? And we give him like a Mowgli character, Kit Cloudkicker, the word Kit coming from Kit Colby and Colt Cheddarson.
Oh.
And they've got this little, air cargo company called Hire for Hire, which I thought would be the name of the show, but it wasn't. It ended up becoming the name of his company. And typical of the TV show Cheers, where Sam Malone has a bar and he doesn't know how to manage it well. So what management does is they buy him out and they bring in someone to run the bar and tell him what to do.
Yeah.
Right? So they bring in Kirstie Alley. So we said, let's just use that template. He's got this airplane. He's got this orphan kid. He's flying these missions, but he's not making any money because he's the bozo, And in comes Rebecca Cunningham, and she says, we're going to do this, that, and the other, because she's a businesswoman, but she doesn't know anything about flying. And she's got a daughter named Molly. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. Come up with all this stuff. And I bring Mark Zaslav in, and we just kick this thing around really fast. Blah, 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 blah. We go to Robert Klein to draw us up some things. And in 3 days, we have a show called Tailspin.
Wow.
Take it over to management, There's this guy, he flies the plane, his boss is this woman, and it's set in kind of a Art Deco, 1930s kind of world, kind of like the old pulp magazines, adventurers and pirates.
Yeah.
And we show them the artwork, and it's like, that's a home run. Let's do it.
That's perfect. So
Okay.
that was the thing with Tailspin, like that I, as a child, didn't really put together until later that, wait a minute, I know these characters from other things. So was the Chippendale Rescue Rangers, was that kind of the door opening to be able to use these characters?
Yes, I don't think consciously we ever felt that way, but
Sure.
you're right.
But yeah, kind of looking back on it, because you've got Blue, King
Right.
Louie's also in that.
Yes. And Shere Khan is the industrialist. And
That's right, yeah.
everybody says, where's Bagheera? And I said, well, actually, Bagheera are all these Black Panthers that are pilots for Shere Khan.
Oh, there you go.
We never called them that. But anyway.
Yeah.
And we never said, let's take Jungle Book and just mess it up. That was never the point. And, and it worked. People loved it. And I was tickled, I could still do more episodes.
I tell you, those were favorites of mine growing up, and I'm having a hard time because whoever wrote the little intro jingles for these things, so like we're talking DuckTales, and every time in my head I'm hearing the woo after we say DuckTales, and same thing with like Tailspin, then you got the OEO from their little jingle. They were just so well done.
All of them were so well done. I'm thinking about all of them in my head right now. There are entire like YouTube compilations of all of these that sometimes we just get together and watch because like they're part of they are like the show's great, but those are the things that you remember from the show.
Mm-hmm.
And people will come up to me and say, "Oh, I love that episode where blah 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 blah." And it's like, I don't remember that. That was a piece of junk, you know.
You're like, oh,
but
that
other
was
people,
definitely not my favorite.
That was my favorite episode.
Well, we had so much fun talking with Jymn Magon that we will continue our conversation next week, where we just keep talking about all types of fun stuff that he got to work on throughout his career. We'll see you then. Well, if you enjoy listening to the show, please consider rating and reviewing the show on your podcast app of choice. It helps other Disney fans become weekly tiers and part of the community. And, of course, we appreciate it.
Looks like we're coming in for a landing, gang. But please stay listening until trivia comes to a stop. And then you can walk to the nearest exit. Thanks for listening to the 8th wonder of the world, DL Weekly.
Welcome back to Trivia Land, where we are going to find out the answers to tonight's question and see how many Tag and Teresa got right and how many you got right at home or in your car or screwing off at work or wherever you listen.
I feel...
I don't know.
Cautiously optimistic that we got a couple.
I'm so curious about this weather vane question.
Yeah. I appreciate your optimism. Let's find out how you did.
Let's do it.
Your first question from listener Donna S. When was the Little Red Wagon corn dog stand put in Disneyland? Tag said 1977. Teresa said 1972. The correct answer that I was looking for was the spring, summer, sometime in there of 1995.
95. Wow, we were way off.
Far more recent than I even guessed myself.
Wow.
Dang.
But that was still 30 years ago.
Ow. Why do you do that?
Because we're both in it together, Vern.
Yes, thank you. Your second listener submitted question from listener Carter R. What was the original name for the Disneyland monorail, and until what year did they use it? Both of you saying that it was called the Disneyland Alweg monorail system, and Tag saying that it was called that until 1965. Teresa saying that they called it that until 1963. The correct answer that I was looking for was the Disneyland Alweg monorail system, and they called it that until 1976.
Wow, that hung on for quite a while. I'd like to say that my guess of 1977 for the previous question was just a premonition and just a little bit off.
Sure, yes. Both of you were actually, you already knew what the next question was, and you were gearing up your 70s.
I like this idea.
Yeah.
We're just stuck in the early years of Disneyland, apparently.
Yeah. Well, the one that I'm sure you've been excited for, your third regular question from listener Andy M. There are at least 13 weather vanes with the north, south, east, west cardinal markers at Disneyland. Can you name them all? Bonus if you can describe the icons on them. You said, the Haunted Mansion has a ship. The Jolly Holiday has Mary Poppins. Peter Pan has the Jolly Roger. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride has Mr. Toad on a wild ride. Pinocchio has Monstro the Whale. There's also the Matterhorn has one. Sleeping Beauty. Something Alley. I can't read my own writing. Harbor Alley?
Harbor
Galley.
Harbor Galley. That's what I wrote. All right. Teresa and I are both having problems with shorthand. Maurice's Treats. ToonTown, City Hall, and Mickey's House, and the train station. The answer that I was looking for was... The Red Rose Tavern has a rooster. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride has Toad in a buggy. Pinocchio's Daring Journey has Monstro the Whale. Haunted Mansion has a ship. Toontown Depot has a train engine. Minnie's House has a heart and an arrow. Jolly Holiday Bakery has Mary Poppins. The Plaza Inn has a gold rooster. Edelweiss Snacks has a decorative spire. Harbor Galley has a sperm whale. Gadgets Go Coaster Loading Area has Gadget Hack Wrench. Town Square Guided Tours has a golden horse. And the Matterhorn has a goat.
The goat on the Matterhorn, Vern.
Did you hear that? Harbor Galley was also correct.
Look at that.
Oh, wait, right? You said Harbor Galley?
Harbor Galley, yep.
Dang.
Look at that.
So, I don't even, how do you even score that? Because
I score that as you did very impressive and got more than I would have ever expected you'd been able to get. Well done, you. High fives.
City Hall ToonTown had one too, right? No. Yes, maybe.
ToonTown Depot has the train engine.
Oh,
and
ToonTown
Minnie's house has the
Depot.
heart and arrow, but not
Yep,
Mickey's
okay.
house.
There you go.
Okay, you went a little fast, so it was hard for me to like.
Well, he was
keep
trying to
up.
get through them. We don't want to be here all day.
I wanted to do it
True.
all in one breath, but there was more than I
There will be a
anticipated.
link in the show notes for those of you that couldn't, like me, keep up with Vern spitting through all of those as quickly as he.
They have
did.
the advantage that they can just hit the slow down button on their
There you
podcast
go.
player.
That's true.
There you go.
Yes.
Or you could go to the show notes and find the link, and then you can actually see all of the different spires too, or all the weather vanes. I guess not spires.
Or you can make a fun game of going to the park and going weather
There you
vane hunting.
go. There you go.
Your fourth and final regular round question from listener Andrew G. True or false? Google Maps shows bike lanes inside Disneyland. Both of you said true because you think that you can go biking in the backstage areas to go from place to place. The correct answer that I was looking for is true, but not the reason that you think.
Well, you're not
Well.
scoring the reason.
If you go on Google Maps and you zoom in on Disneyland and you go to the lower left corner and you click on the layers and you go from terrain and instead you switch, go past traffic, go past transit, and you go to biking,
Oh, yeah.
you will find green lines all over the place.
But in
And those
really
green
weird
lines are bike paths,
spaces, too.
including the bike paths on Tom Sawyer Island.
Oh yeah. There's look at that. You could bike all around Galaxy's Edge,
There's
according to
random
this.
little bike paths that aren't connected to anything.
Yeah.
They're just
You know what's
There's just-
interesting, right? So, ToonTown and Galaxy's Edge are like, well, the most, either the newest areas or the most newest refreshed lands or areas, and those have like bike paths all over the lands, whereas everything else is just weird. Why do you think that would be?
no idea.
I was surmising that if you look at the key for this, they're labeled not necessarily as bike, but they're done as trails.
Yeah, which also doesn't make sense though.
Well, think of the droid tracks
Maybe.
in Galaxy's
But
Edge
look,
and
Big Thunder Trail is not marked as a trail.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
funny.
Somebody probably went online and
Look at
added
that. It's like this is, and then it's like right. It's the Magnolia Park area.
the old version of Magnolia
yeah,
Park.
but that's also like the most recently updated spaces have the most of this house.
But this is the old layout.
How strange. Yes, it is, and it's also the old Haunted Mansion queue.
Yep. Interesting.
But,
I don't know who
nonetheless,
thought to come up with this question, but
That was listener Andrew G. Somehow came across Google Maps shows bike lanes inside
How
Disneyland.
bizarre.
And specifically, Andrew G. pointed out the bike lanes on Tom Sawyer Island, which led me down the rabbit hole of, okay, where else can I find bike paths? And here we are.
Yeah, and there's bicycle friendly roads. Which
that's crazy.
Tom Sawyer's Island, the quote unquote bicycle friendly road is the bridge. Like I think it's the bounce, like the one that the you know what I mean? The one that like
The
has
bridge is dirt unpaved trails. It's a dash.
Oh, it's not the
Because
bicycle friendly.
no,
thing?
because they're green dots, and if you go over to Harbor,
Oh,
Harbor has the green dots.
got it. Different green dots.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That is fascinating.
And your bonus question from listener Ezekiel. What is the name of the clock on the exterior of It's a Small World? You answered Glockenspiel.
No, I said clock.
Glockenspiel.
You said Glockenspiel.
I said
Sorry.
Glockenspiel.
All right, sorry. Teg said Glockenspiel, and Teresa said Glockenspiel. The correct answer that I was looking for, from the German word for chimes, Glockenspiel.
Missed opportunity.
I just pulled that out of nowhere, and I'm very happy with myself for that one.
Well, yeah.
Missed
Usually this is
opportunity.
you, though.
It should have been Glockenspiel.
Yes, but usually this is you who like pulls random stuff out of nowhere.
It's true.
Well, you done did good.
Woo!
Well, listeners, how do you think Teg and Teresa did? How did you do listening at home? Do you have some great question that you'd really like to stump them with next week? Well, if you do, feel free to send that in to us at dlweekly.net/trivia.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
Hello, I am Baymax, your personal podcast companion. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate this episode? My scans indicate you have been a good weekly tier. Have a lollipop. Now excuse me while I let out some air. Goodbye.